So in the previous assignment, I have asked you guys to get the latest code, okay, and then use the same form and then add spaces using the box model to the input fields without making use of IDs and classes. Now, that being said, if I inspect element on this particular guy, or in fact, if I inspect element on this guy, I'll first mark the form, correct? Now, I'll take that input field, or better yet, I want this entire div, since div is the main parent of this label and input field. Let me take out the styles blue color, right? It's kind of, it's throwing it off. Let me refresh. Did I save it? Okay. Now I inspect element on the form. Then I will see that I have label, I have input field. I have seen many people do this mistake where they have converted the label to a like adding a block level element and then basically adding dimensions to it and what's not. That is fine. I mean, that is also correct. But that is not the actual practice that you're going to see in real-time world. Since in this form, I have both label and input field as a child of this div, this big div, right? I can say, what if I add a margin, okay, of 10 pixels from the top and then 20 pixels from the left and right. That adds some space, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for all the divs in this HTML. Now since all I have is most of the divs right in the same place, adding a margin to that particular div is not going to cause any troubles. So let me do this. Let me take out this entire styles away and I'll simply say div. I'll just grab the div and then I'll say margin. Look what I did actually, right? Inside my HTML, I did that inspect element and I added styles right here on the fly to see how my elements behave, right? So I'll be using the same in my styles. Now I can copy this directly and then go back to my code and then just replace this with like this. Now this guy added an extra space. I don't know if you can see this. So all I need to do is delete that and press a tab. Now this is what I meant by indentation. When you copy paste anything, it will add some extra spaces. You need to be careful to take out those spaces so that the indentation is perfect. When I do that, I go back and I refresh this page. Okay, I took out the styles to the form, which is okay. But now everything got messed up because my div is display block. So I'll go back. The margin was added though. If I go back, you see this orange thingy? That is the margin. It added the margin. So now all I say is change the display to inline block, right? When I say that, the div comes like this. So similarly, I'll go back here and I'll say display to be inline block. That's number one. Now this div of inline block, is added to all the fields, right? To every field. Okay. Now I need to make sure that these fields are below the labels as per the requirement, right? From the previous class. Okay. So now what I can do is I can say all the label, like if I go back, if I expand one of the divs, right? If I go back and expand one of the divs, the label is inline right now. So what happens if I change it to block level, right? Come on. It adds up like this. So that means I need to say display to be block level. And then finally, let me see if I can add some padding to this field, to this element. Now, I just need the padding on the top and the bottom. I don't need it on the right and left side. So I'll say simply 10 pixels and then 0, and that will basically add some padding to that label element. So I'll simply copy it, go back here, paste it, make sure my indentation is correct. I'll come back and I'll refresh the page. All of these fields are working correctly. Now, the gender is an exception. It is kind of messing up the gender. The male and female should be side by side. And when I asked you in the assignment, I wanted you to add spaces, and this is, as per the assignment, is correct. As per the assignment is correct. Okay. But if you want to overcome this issue, we need to basically, deal with this gender ID. We have to capture this ID, and then we need to make sure that this female comes right next to this male. But that's not part of the assignment. I'm not going to do it. As far as I see, this is correct as of right now. This is what I asked you for the line number 2, the assignment number 2. So the style that we were looking was div and the label, a margin to the div, a padding to the label, then the respective displays. So I did an inspect element on this particular field, and then I did it the styles on the fly like this. So moving forward, when you're writing styles to a particular element, before jumping into writing the code, it's a good idea to get that element rendered as is from the browser, and then from the browser's dev tools, this is called as Chrome's dev tool, the bottom one, you select that element and then you add the styles on the fly, like this, like what I did, right? And then when you feel like, right, that is the style that I'm looking for, you can copy it or remember it and then put it in your actual style file, right? So that was the assignment number 1. Now place the form in the center of the page. Do Google how do you place it to the center. Now when I inspect element on the form, since right now I don't have any styles for my form, the width of the form goes the width of the screen. So what I'll do is I'll come to this element dot style, and then I'll simply say display, and I'll try to say inline block, which will make the div suitable for the form, the entire form. Now I'll add a border of 1 pixel or 2 pixels. Okay, the style is solid and the color is black. We are following this standard. First the dimension, then the style, then the color. Harish, you did not follow this standard in your assignment. I wanted to bring that out too. Now I'm able to see my form, right? So what I'll do is I'll copy this style, right? And since my form name is new license form, what I'll do, and form is the parent of everything, I'll go to the top and I'll say form name equal to new license form, and then I'll add the style that I copied from there. Now you see when I pasted it, the border indentation got messed up. So I'm completely taking out all the space and then I'm pressing one tab. Look how clean the CSS looks here. So now if I go back and if I refresh the page, the style stays there. Okay. Now I'll go back to my assignment and I'll say, like, place the form in the center of the page. So I want this form to be at the center of the page, right? Now, one ugly way of doing it is by saying margin left 1000 pixels. Now I did too much, so I'll keep on reducing. This is the nasty way of doing it, because whatever the value that I'm going to get, okay, here, which is like I'm reducing to 700 pixels, 600 pixels. Now it's going to 600 pixels. For me, I feel like 600 pixels is the center. But when I use the same file, same code in anyone else's machine, chances are this style will come somewhere here, like it might come somewhere like here or somewhere like here. That is not right. We need to make it absolutely at the center. To do that, I don't know if you have did Googling on that or not, but to get that working, we need to first define the width of the form. Right now, there is no width style attached to this form. Okay, so what I'll say is I want the width of, I'll start with 100 pixels. Now this, as I say 100 pixels, this will break the form. So what I'll do is I'll basically keep on increasing until I find it suitable. Now I feel like 240 pixels is good, or better yet, let me change it to 250 pixels. Okay, so 250 pixels is the width that I have defined it. Now to place an item at the center of the page, and this is an interview question, how do you put an element into center of the page? To make an element at the center of the page, we need to make sure that it has equal values or equal dimensions of margin on both sides, the left and right side. Meaning the margin left should have 100 pixels and the margin right should have the same 100 pixels. But this 100 pixels should be with respect to my screen size or my screen's dimension. Okay, right now my screen's dimension is 1567 width. That is the width of my screen, right? So half of that makes 730 something like that. So I'll say 730 pixels from margin left and then 730 pixels on the right, and that basically centers to the page. You see, I have added, like, automatically the browser has added this scroll bar. That means this 730 pixels are too much. So we need to reduce this to 700 pixels. Okay. Even though I did 700 pixels, I'll see too much of the width. So I'm unable to hard code the exact value unless and until I keep on debugging my page. And again, I'll end up in the situation that if I use the same code in, let's say, Manohar's machines or in this machine, chances are that it will not break. Of course it will break, right? Because I'm using hard code values. That's why to avoid this issue, we have something called as auto. Okay, this auto means we will let the browser manipulate the margin based on its own understanding. Okay, meaning based on what it does is like it will understand like how much the screen width is, and based on that it will assign the margins on both the left and right side automatically. It will automatically determine on its own. Okay, but when I do that, looks like the margin did not add it. That's because I have an inline block, and if you remember, the inline block calculates or computes the best possible dimensions based on its inner elements and its outer parent. So instead of that, it should be a block level element, and when I do that, you see the element automatically comes to the center. And this is how it looks. When you say block level element, right? When you say block level element, it will take up the width of the entire screen, because its immediate parent, which is section here, also takes up the width of the entire screen. So when you say display block, it takes the width of the entire screen. So that's why we need to specify how much width you want for that particular form. And when I do that, all of a sudden, you will see that the width is now changed to this 250 pixels. Okay, the 240, it shows 254. The 4 pixels is the padding that the border, not the padding. I'm sorry, the border on both sides. The left side it has 2 pixels. The right has 2 pixels border. So that's why it comes to 4 pixels in total. So that's why you see the width to be 254 rather than 250. Now, when I say the browser that calculate or compute the margin left automatically and then margin right automatically, when I say that, you see, if I simply use margin left, it will place the element to the extreme right. Similarly, if I say margin left, margin right to be auto, it will put the element at the extreme left. If you want to put it in the center, we need to make sure that we say both margin left and margin right are automatically computed by the browser. When you say that, it will place the element at the center of the page. Now, since it's automatically computing, it doesn't matter if I put this code in Neha's machine or in Pujita's machine or Sarika's, in anyone's machine, this element will always render at the center. Clear? Ardhavinda, do you want me to repeat it? Let me repeat it one more time in both Hindi and Telugu. Okay? जब आप किसी भी एलिमेंट को डिस्प्ले ब्लॉक कहते हैं, ओके, वो क्या करता है कि वो इमीडिएट पेरेंट का विड्थ लेता है, ठीक है, एंड व्हेन वी से मार्जिन लेफ्ट ऑटो एंड मार्जिन राइट ऑटो, this margin left and right is with respect to the section which is the immediate parent. Okay, the margin left is added with respect to the section. Now हमारे केस में क्या हुआ है कि जो फॉर्म का जो विड्थ है, या जब हमने उसको डिस्प्ले ब्लॉक बोला है, वो क्या करता है कि उसके डायमेंशंस जो है वो अपने इमीडिएट पेरेंट से लेता है, जो कि सेक्शन है. इन दिस केस सेक्शन का डायमेंशन जो है वो फुल स्क्रीन विड्थ है. सो इनडायरेक्टली द फॉर्म का भी जो विड्थ है वो भी सेक्शन का ही विड्थ होएगा, व्हाट द सेक्शन विड्थ इज. ओके, सो इसके लिए अपने को करना क्या है कि अपने को जो है एक हार्ड कोड विथ वैल्यू डिफाइन करना ही पड़ेगा फॉर द फॉर्म. इन दिस केस मैंने 250 पिक्सल्स चूज किया है बिकॉज मुझे लगता है 250 पिक्सल्स इज करेक्ट व्हेन आई लुक एट द फॉर्म. ओके, अब अपने को इस पूरे एलिमेंट को सेंटर पे लाने का है, तो मुझे मार्जिन लेफ्ट कुछ देना होगा एंड मार्जिन राइट भी देना होगा, so that those two values are exactly the same. If even if there is 99% of the margin left and 1% of margin right, that means it's not at the center, right? It has to be 50%, like 50% here, 50% here. और प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि मेरे कंप्यूटर में, मेरे जो पर्सनल लैपटॉप है, इसमें स्क्रीन विड्थ है 1500 पिक्सल्स. हो सकता है कि आपका लैपटॉप में स्क्रीन विड्थ होगा 1200 पिक्सल्स, किसी और के मशीन में होगा 2000 पिक्सल्स, राइट? तो मैं ऐसा बोल नहीं सकता कि भाई टेक दिस मच पिक्सल्स ऑन मार्जिन लेफ्ट एंड देन टेक एग्जैक्टली द सेम पिक्सल्स ऑन मार्जिन राइट. वो गलत होएगा. तो इसके लिए हम क्या करते हैं कि हम ब्राउजर को बोलते हैं कि भाई एक काम कर बेटा, तू ही डिसाइड कर, तू ही ऑटोमेटिकली डिफाइन कर ले कि भाई मार्जिन लेफ्ट और मार्जिन राइट कितना होना चाहिए. तो क्या होता है कि बिहाइंड द सीन ब्राउजर क्या करेगा, वो ऑटोमेटिकली अपना ब्राउजर का विड्थ डिफाइन करेगा. मतलब उसके पास में ऑलरेडी उसका खुद का विड्थ है, तो उसके हिसाब से वो क्या करेगा कि उस एलिमेंट का मार्जिन डिफाइन करेगा. ओके, 1500 पिक्सल्स है, इस एलिमेंट का जो विड्थ है वो 250 पिक्सल्स है. ओके, so let me do this. 1500 pixels minus 250 pixels, I'll get something like 1250 pixels. So I need to divide that 1250 pixels evenly on both sides. And when it does that, it will come to around kitna 6 kitna hua 1250, right? So 6 to 5, 625 pixels each side. So वो automatically ऐसा calculation करेगा and it will try to keep 625 pixels margin from the left side and 625 pixels on the right side. I'm almost close. See, the margin left is 656 pixels and the margin right is 656 pixel 0.5. Exact the same width, the margin value on both sides. This is how the browser computes, and this is how you can place an element in the center. Now, when I say the width of this section, okay, right now the width of this section is 1567, right? Let me change that to 500 pixels. देखा क्या हुआ? I'm increasing the width of the section, right? And when I change it to 1567 pixels, I'll get it at the center. When I keep on reducing it, you will see that it is moving to the left. And the reason is because the width of the section, the parent of that form, is reducing. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Like this approach that I've told you is with respect to the immediate parent. And in this case, it's the section. If the section's width is only 500 pixels, then the form will be aligned exactly at the center of that section. You see? So that's how this entire style works. Okay, so let me copy this entire style. If I go back to my form, I'll replace this entire thing with the new code and then completely get the indentation to work and then save it. So when I do that, I'll see that my form is at the center no matter how many times I refresh it. Clear? అర్థమైందా? ఈ మార్జిన్ లెఫ్ట్ ఆటో margin right auto, and width. Okay, these three styles, ఈ మూడు స్టైల్స్ ఏదో ఉన్నాయో విత్ 250 పిక్సెల్స్, మార్జిన్ లెఫ్ట్ ఆటో, మార్జిన్ రైట్ ఆటో, ఈ మూడు మీరు డిఫైన్ చేయాలా. అది మీకు 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 సెంటర్ లో కావాలంటే యూ హ్యావ్ టు డిఫైన్ ఇట్. ఓకే, యూ హ్యావ్ టు స్పెసిఫై ద విడ్త్ of that form of that element, and then say I want a margin left to be auto, I want the margin right to be auto, and browser will automatically compute, and then it will place it at the center of the immediate parent. Okay, clear? That was this assignment. Now I want you to see an unordered list inside the HTML. Okay, so what we're going to do is I will collapse this form, and then I'll say unordered list, right? And then I'll say ul li about us. I'll copy this. Oops. I'll copy this, paste, paste, paste. So about us, or let's say the first one is home, then second one is about us, the third one is contact us, and then finally I don't know, testimony or something like that. Okay, when I have something like this, if I go back and if I refresh this page, at the bottom you'll see the unordered list like this. Now the assignment says that I don't want to see this dots. Okay, so let me inspect element of this guy, and when I bring my cursor over this UL, right, on the right hand side you're going to see some styles, right? Some of the styles you will see that they have something like this. So to get rid of these dots, they are making use of some list style type calls, and it is made to be disk. What will happen if I take that out? So if I copy this, go back here, and then if I say run, you'll see that the dots have disappeared. What happens with the innermost elements? Mean the LIs, the list items. When I get to those elements, I see that each of these list styles are taking the width of the entire screen, meaning they are at the level of display block. Their width here is 1500 pixels. That's why it's taking up the entire screen. If I want to put about us right next to this home, I need to make sure that this li, this li, this li, and this li taking the width of whatever their inner content is. That means, in short, we want to have it display inline. But if I deal with display inline, I will not be able to add any dimensions to it or spaces to it. And in my assignment, I have clearly mentioned, then find out a way to hide the dot and then place the list item next to each other in a horizontal way and follow the box model for spacing between the items. So if I say display inline, I won't be able to add styles or add the dimensions to it. So to avoid that problem, I'll make each of these fields like inline block. Inline block gives me the power to make the element as inline, but as well as you can add dimensions to the to as like in a block element. So now I can say margin, and then I can say like I don't want any margin on the top or the bottom, but I want the margin to be on the left and right hand side. Now this style needs to get added to each of this li, each of these li. And finally, I'll see this side by side. So,
Shrikar, excuse me.
yeah, good.
Yeah, so this is Uday, and can we create a div and then can we say that flow left?
See, I haven't covered the topic flow left. There are,
Okay,
I
okay.
mean,
I'm
as
just
in,
asking.
yeah, there are several ways of doing it. But since I did
Okay,
not cover the float concept at all, I don't
got it, got
expect
it, got
to.
it.
Yeah, I don't expect to see any float commands. This
Yeah,
is
thank
the
you.
way to do it,
Sure, sure, no problem.
right?
I was just asking if we can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that way.
yeah. You can always do it. But moving forward in the next classes, I'll let you guys know how to do it. But for now,
Thank you.
this is the answer that you know. This is how to do it.
Okay,
So the
thank
UL,
you.
sure. So the unordered list uh, tag or element UL should have a list style type of none. So I'll copy this. I'll go back to my style, and at the bottom I'll say UL, and then I'll paste my style like this. And then each li should have display inline block and margins, whatever the margin dimensions that you see here. So now I'll go here and I'll say li, then I'll paste my style. Looks like the indentation is messed up, so I'll do this and then I'll save it like this. When I come back, this is how the unordered list looks like. That was your assignment 4, number 4. Finally, I said I want to make the buttons beautiful, and I said to look into the GitHub, this button, right? One cheat you can say to do is I can inspect element on this guy. That's one cheat, as I said. I can inspect element on this button and see how exactly they are rendering it. That's one way of doing it. Or if you are smart enough, you'll not do that and you will clearly make out like, okay, I have a green color button. So I'll go to this 0 to 255.com website, right? And then I'll look for green colors like this green, but more of a lighter green. Okay, like this guy is kind of a darker green. That's fine. Like I'll take this guy. So now what will I do is I said the cancel button needs to be red and the submit button needs to be look beautiful. But both of these buttons, okay, both of these buttons can have certain border. So let's say border of 1 pixel solid, color is gray, which is EEE. They have a border radius, let's say, of I don't know, 1 pixel, or better yet 3 pixels. Save it, go back and let's refresh the page. I see something. Okay, I'll inspect element on one of those and then I'll see like this, right? And then finally I'll say background color to be the color that I copied, which is this guy, hashtag this, right? Now for some reason I am not liking this gray, okay, for some reason. So I'll just copy this guy, I'll go back here, go to the main page, and I'll say pick a color, paste my EEE code here, and then pick a color. This is more of a lighter gray, right? I want to see like a darker gray, for example. I'll copy that, I'll come back here, and I'll replace this guy with this and see how it is. This kind of looks good. And then finally I want to have white color so that I can read the text, something like this, right? So I'll simply copy this color, right? And I'll go back here, fix my indentation, and then save it. Now this add the styles to the cancel button as well, right? But that is fine for now because I'm not done with my assignment. Now I want to see some good padding on this element because we don't want to create margin outside the buttons, we want to create margin inside the buttons. So I'll say padding of, let's say, 10 pixels. That looks like I get the feeling like, I'm adding too much to the upper layer, to the top and bottom. So I'll reduce the top and bottom like this, and I'll kind of increase something like this. Now this button looks good. But if you want to add some margin also, that is also fine, like adding a 10 pixel margin. Now this form looks good now. And I can also increase the border radius a little bit, 5 pixels, let's say. So let me copy this guy, this entire style now. Go back to my styles and change the button color completely, like the button style completely, like this. Okay. Now this style is added to both the buttons. I don't want to add green color to the submit button, to the cancel button. So I'll specifically say button type submit, and I'll say background color to be this. And for button, type cancel or type reset. In this case, I want a red color. So for that, we go back to 0 to 255, go back to the main page, and then we'll look for red colors. Okay, this red looks good, so I'll go back. I'll just replace this with this value. Save it, go back, refresh the page. This looks beautiful compared to the traditional buttons, if you ask me, right? If you want to increase the width and padding, the padding of the buttons, you can surely do so, like 10 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 20 pixels on left and right. And if you feel like, this is good, then you can come back, change the 5 pixels to 10 pixels, and then 20 pixels like this. Refresh, you're good to go, right? So I think this was the assignment that I've asked you to do. See, I am no different. You guys have done. Okay? The only difference that I'm doing is basically I'm making use of this Chrome DevTools to inspect an element. Like for example, this input field, right? I don't like the way this input field looks. So I'll inspect element on this input field, this particular input field. And then I'll try to add some styles to it. Like for example, the height, or let me say the padding. The padding is inside this element, right? So I can add 10 pixels of padding like this. Now that kind of, that is not, that doesn't look good to me. So let me reduce it to 8 pixels from the top and bottom, and from left and right 5 pixels. Now I can say the border radius and add some 5 pixels to it. Now when I do that, all of a sudden I see some graying out like this, which I don't like. So now I need to add some border values or border style to it. So I'll say 1 pixel solid, and the color, let's say I say EEE, something like this. This is how my input field will look like. If I don't like EEE, I can always go back to my 0 to 255 and then copy, let's say 777, or no, that's way too dark. I'll go back and say CCC, for example. I'll come back here. I'll change it on the fly, like here. I'll change this EEE to CCC. This looks good. So what will I do is I'll copy this style right here. I'll go back to my code, right? And then I'll simply put input, paste my style, and then make sure the indentation is correct. And when I come back, all of these input fields now look good, right? This is how you write the styles, okay? This is how you do it. So from this point on, whenever you are dealing with styles, CSS of the page, of any page, the first and foremost thing you need to do is right click and inspect element on that particular element. You need to select it on the left hand side like this. Then go on the right hand side and see the styles, what it has, and then mess around with that style. Doesn't matter how do you want it, just do it. This is the easier approach that what I'm trying to get at, right? Does anyone has any questions at this point? Shweta, I distinctly remember I said you should not touch the cancel button, the color as is, because cancel should be red. I think I have said that in the class, in the last class. I remember that. So did you guys understand how you write the styles now? Does anyone have any questions right now?
Shrikar, Neha here.
Yes, Neha, go ahead.
So for me, I want to ask, like first, like giving the when I was box to the center, I use PX means pixels, and then
I
I
know where
just
you're, okay, I know where you're
the
going at.
percentage.
I know where you're going at. I will cover that in the next class.
Oh, okay.
This is, there is a full-blown class on dimensions.
Oh, okay.
There are pixels, there are percentages, there are other units as well, inches, meters, and all that. So we will be covering that in a separate class. But for now, I think, like, I have not used anything other than pixels in my entire example,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So you can still get that thing up and running. So I mean,
Okay.
let's just say that I don't know the margin auto concept, right? So I'll simply say
Mm-hmm.
how to place div in the center. Okay, like that's the first question everyone is asking. Or if I'm more specific, I'll say CSS. Okay, and then if you scroll down, you will see, like, place a div in the center. I have seen many of you have written the style as text align center, and that is wrong. Text align places the inline texts in the center, whereas div is a block level element. So when I do Google like this, people have said that, you need to make sure that you have a width. Oh, his question is different. Both vertically and horizontally. No, I just want it horizontally. Because in my assignment, I clearly said center means by width, not by height, not by vertically. So let's see this guy. You need to specify the width, and then you need to say margin auto on the left and right hand side. Like in this case, he is using 0 to the top and bottom, but left and right, it's the auto, meaning the browser will compute on its own. So that's how you basically get your answers and then basically get these styles up and running. Clear, guys? Any questions? I have asked you to use this unordered list and put it horizontally because this is how you will be writing the navigation bar or the nav of the page. Meaning, if you scroll up to the top, you have this header, right? Okay. Now, inside this header, or even like inside this section, you can have another trinity. So you can say article, again header, and then section, and then footer, like this. Inside this header, you will place this nav. So you'll create a nav, and inside that you'll place this unordered list. And now I'll remove this comment. I'll say page navigation. Then inside each li, I'll have an anchor tag ahref, and then name as home. So I'll copy this guy. Okay, I'll take this guy out, paste it. I'll take this guy out, paste it, and I'll take this guy out and I'll paste it. Usually inside href it will be URL to /home, and the next one is about us. So it's going to be about us, and the URL will be /about us, something like that. Not necessarily about us. It can be /about also. Doesn't matter. And then contact us. URL will be /contact, and then finally testimony or something like that. Testimony. And then the URL will be /testimony. Then you just copy this entire form, take care of this nonsense spaces, and then put it inside the inner section here. See, I'm following the indentation. I'm paying attention to it also. Now when I save it,
Why?
sorry?
Why are we using /home/about? Why is that for? What is that for? I'm sorry.
That is the URL to another page. I mean, basically you can say like, www.google.com/ or let me do this. Okay, google.com/maps. Okay, this will take me to maps, Google Maps. Okay, let's say I'll copy this and I'll change this and I'll say instead of maps I'll say mail. So it will take to my mail. Okay, let's say this guy, instead of Google Maps, it takes me to what do you call, images, and then it will take me to images. And then finally I have like this. Instead of maps, what do we have? Shopping. Let's say shopping, and then change this guy to shopping. Okay, now everything looks good. My annotation is good, everything is good. Now if I go back, if I refresh my website, you'll see these are the navigation links. Okay, if I click on maps, it will take me to, I keep forgetting this, my bad, http:// sorry, this is my bad, I keep forgetting this. This, and then save it. Okay, when I refresh, okay, if I click on maps, it will take me to Google Maps. When I go back, if I click on mail, it will take me to my Gmail. If I click on images, it will take me to Google Images. And finally, if I click on shopping, it will take me to Google's shopping. So what I'm trying to get at is, this is going to be your navigation bar for your website. Okay, meaning right now I don't have HTML file, right? I can let's say, okay, I can create another HTML and then name it as Shrikar.html. Okay. Inside this indentation is messed up, so I'll create like this. Looks good. Inside my head, let's just say I have only one H1 which says Shrikar. Something like that. I have only one HTML file in my here. So I can copy this guy and I can say, hopefully this will work, Shrikar.html, and then this will say open Shrikar. Okay, if I go back, refresh, you will see Shrikar. When I click on this, it will load that HTML. So basically this is your navigation bar. Okay, what will happen is you will use the same navigation in all of these HTML pages, by the way. Okay, you will use like this in all of the pages. So let's say like this, I have an article, then I'll have a header. Inside the header I'll have this navigation, and then the section. Inside the section I have an H1 which says Shrikar, and then finally the footer. Okay. Let me add the title here as Shrikar also. Save it. Now if I refresh this page, when I click on this, it will take me back to that Shrikar.html. Now the style looks messed up, and that's because we need to source the style sheet. So I'll just copy this guy and I'll paste this guy here. When I refresh it, you'll look like this, right? What I'm trying to get at is, this navigation is not going to change. Okay, this will still point to your website. It's just going to load another HTML file. This is what we call it as navigation bar or navigation tool, and that's how you're basically going to write it. What I'm trying to get at is, moving forward, when we are dealing with JavaScripts and when we are dealing with advanced frameworks like AngularJS, you are going to see a navigation bar at the top like this, which will load more pages one after the other. Clear? Did you guys understand this?
Yes, completely. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, అర్థమైందా ఇది కదా?
Shrikar,
I hope.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like in navigation in nav, you have written all the means navigation names in list order, means UI, LI. So this is the syntax, or like we can directly write in a nav tag, means whatever links we want.
See, I have already told you that UL can have only one child, and that's LI. Okay?
No,
And
okay.
let me complete. And since our navigation should have a list of all the navigations that we want to have in one place, and we kind of want to keep track of that. Meaning what I'm trying to say is, like, you can always say anchor tags. You can always place anchor tags inside the navigations like this. Okay. Even that will work. And if I comment this guy out, right?
That's what I wanted to ask.
Even this will work. But the reason we want to have an unordered list and we want to place it like this is because we want to have a cleaner approach, right? The same question arises, like, why do we have Trinity? Why do we have to follow Trinity? Can't we simply use div everywhere? You can. But the thing is, it will not make your code clean. When I look at your code, I should get the feel that, okay, this guy is professional or this girl is professional. She knows how HTML are written. And it's also, for the browser's understanding, like, if you simply put all the elements in the same level, it will like, it is harder for it to understand. It is harder for it to render also. So it's just that, we need to kind of have a structure like this. And most of the pages where you're going to see will follow this kind of structure, right? Like, for example, I think this is an unordered list. I don't know. Let's see. No, they're not. They're using spans everywhere. Well, what the heck? Let's check out this guy. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. They are using an unordered list. Then they have allies, and inside each ally they have an anchor tag. So when it comes to the main navigation, almost every website is following the same structure. And I want you guys to follow the same structure because it will be easier for you to understand. We have a navigation at the top. So we have a parent called nav. Then we got an unordered list, which has each list item as an anchor tag link to the next HTML page. Simple, straightforward. And also let me tell you, it is easier to target the styles. Okay, clear? Clear, Ainda?
Shrika.
Like, is it like, am I making sense? Are you guys
Yes, yeah,
understanding why do we
absolutely.
have to, yeah, why do we have to use the nav, ul, li and all that?
Yes, yes. And Srikar, one last. Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're indentating, you're using some shortkeys, right?
I'm simply using tabs.
Okay.
Like, I'm
So you're
selecting
copying.
this entire block,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then I'm holding shift and then tab. Shift tab
Okay.
will go to the left, and simply tab will make it to the right.
Okay. You're blocking it, and does it work in Sublime also, or any
Yeah, 99%
Notepad plus
of
plus?
all the IDs should work like that.
Okay.
I really don't think why it should not work. Let me try opening that in Notepad++. Right? So if I
Mm-hmm.
select this guy, shift tab,
Okay.
then
No arrow keys, right?
no arrow keys, just tab.
Okay. Okay.
You see this part, then this part, then this part. You see
Yeah.
these vertical lines here?
That's each tab, right?
That's your each element's indentation, right? The parent
Yeah.
is here, your child is expected here, and the inner child is expected here. So it orders, like, it places this imaginary like dots, like vertical lines for you.
Got it.
IntelliJ also does that. See this vertical lines. So that's what I'm asking you guys to pay attention to, and that's all. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Did you guys understand the assignment that I've done here? And did you guys understand, like, what is the cleaner approach? Like, how to get that? Okay. I just wanted to bring this one point out, guys, is that starting tomorrow, I have some tasks that I need to take care of in the evenings. So I will not be able to take classes in the evenings. Does anyone have any objections if I take class in the mornings 6 a.m. Pacific time, that is like 8 a.m. Central time, 9 a.m. Eastern time?
Uh, 6 a.m. Shikha, for me 6 a.m. will be little tough because I need to cook lunch before 8. So I usually start around 6:15.
Okay. Um,
It will be really tough for me by that time.
okay, anyone else? Because I asked this in the group and looks like you're the only one who is having like, I think only you are not going to make it, I guess. Um, is there any way that you can work around on that?